Oh, I don't think it played the media, but it's okay. How we doing today, guys? Here it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Happy 420.
The beautiful holiday is upon us. All stoners rejoice.
It is Weed Christmas.
Weed Christmas, yes.
So, in approximately 19 minutes and 43 to 30 seconds, it'll be 420 exactly, because we are airing this on Saturday, April 20th, 2024. We have pre-recorded this from somewhere in the past.
Ooh, now we're here in the future, but now.
And speaking of the past, what we're going to do today for our first annual and possibly final, who knows what the future holds, 420 special. But I'm going to talk about my kind of first experience with it, some funny memories. Todd's going to do the same. We've got some top 5 for you, and there might be some portrayal of marijuana partaking.
Oh, yeah. I hope so. I mean, reefer.
So, Todd, paint me a picture right now. How did young Han Bolo become Han Bolo?
So, now that, I'm in my early 40s and it's not taboo in New York State anymore, or really around the country, it's okay to say certain people were involved. So, growing up, my parents smoked pot their whole, since I was born. Actually, my mom did inform me not long ago that she did smoke pot the whole time she was pregnant with me. So,
explains a lot.
But you know what? It was the fucking, 70s, 80s, whatever. So I honestly so it's funny that I'm such a stoner and have actually a really good memory with stuff. Like, my bedroom was upstairs, and when we all went to bed, they would smoke in the living room. It was the only time they ever smoked in the house when we were all sleeping. They weren't just chilling and fucking, burning in front of us, they whatever. So I would always kind of creep down the stairs a little bit when I was younger, and I'd watch my dad rolling joints and blah blah blah. And I always remember too when I was younger that I'd be laying in bed and I would start to smell that, and then I would immediately fall asleep. So your
whole life you were secondhand.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was 12, I think it was about a month before I turned 13. I was and I found their stash. So I fucking took some, went and I think I smoked for the first time by myself. I believe I was by myself on their balcony because I didn't know my friends. I had an older brother, but I mean,
12's pretty young. I mean,
I was already smoking cigarettes by 12.
Well, so I also had started smoking cigarettes at 12 because of 7th grade, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was in
the summer of 8th grade when I started smoking.
So it was the year I was in Japan. So we'd go off base. You could buy cigarettes. You could buy alcohol. The night before my 13th birthday was the first time I got drunk. So I guess it tracks.
Yeah. So nope, I stole some of and yeah, I think I was on their balcony, and then I didn't realize, some things, I think you've been taught about it in school, but whatever. So yeah, I'm standing just on, we lived out in the suburbs country. So yeah, I'm out on their balcony smoking this fucking metal bowl of theirs and whatever. And I'll be honest with you, could I tell you if I remember if I got high? Absolutely not. But I did continue taking it from them and then going to my friends, and me and 2 or 3 good friends started smoking more and more. And then yeah.
Now were you just stealing it? Were you just stealing it from your parents, or did you find somebody to buy it from?
It was a little bit I stole it, so I steal it from my parents, and they realized it. And they put it in a filing cabinet. And did
they say anything to you about it? Did they be like, Todd?
Not at first. So then they put it in a filing cabinet. and then I figured out how to pick the lock with a fucking paper clip, like lock and unlock it. So that didn't work out well. And then they thought they'd be smart and move it to like a suitcase under the bed. Same deal, man. Like those locks back in the day, man, you could, paper clip up. And then magically, I think it was that year, my dad got a gun safe. I mean, like,
wow.
He always had guns, but they were on a rack in his room. We all grew up knowing gun safety, all that shit. So nobody could be like, no, we 80s and 90s were a whole different ball game.
On a special episode of 90210.
Yeah. So yeah, magically all of a sudden now there's a gun safe with only 2 keys that were like those round ones with the like you could not pick those locks. I actually studied the Anarchist Cookbook for a while trying to figure out how to pick those locks. I did have a copy of that when I was a kid, but that's a whole other
podcast.
You have no idea the shit I read about and have learned out of that thing. So I did. So one time I do remember again, man, for being, almost 30-year stoner, I do have quite a good memory. My dad made beer, and I remember one Sunday like he was making beer, and I thought he was whatever, so I like grabbed one of the keys and stuck into the room and blah blah blah. But like he ended up like catching me like not in the act, but like he must have heard me. So like when he went upstairs, he was like, "Oh, just give it back, da 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 da," But and I remember him saying this literally, like he was like, "The worst thing about pot is that it's illegal." That's what he said to me. Like that was the worst thing he said. He never, never was the da 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 don't buy. It was just. That was it. But it's like, yeah, so then I had to fucking find people and actually pay for it, buy it. Which at that point, I was 14 years old. Like, yeah, I do stuff around the house and get some money, but I didn't have a job until I was 15, I think. So I didn't have my own income to fucking buy it until like I was like 15 years old. So
what was the quantity you originally bought in? Because depending on who I talked to, it was different.
To be honest with you, I don't remember, but it couldn't have been any more than an eighth. If anything, I would have to say, between, a nickel, a dime, or a 20.
Everything was like strictly like dime bags, like. And
yeah, the 90s wasn't. People weren't buying ounces and quarter pounds. Like it was
for me. It was early 2000s, like right, cusp of the new millennium. So, but like, if I wanted an eighth, it was like, yo, I need 4 dime bags. Like we literally like bought 10 dime bags. Like if we wanted an ounce, it'd be 10 dime bags. Like, which whatever it was. But so like for me. It wasn't until like 10th grade. Now, by this time, already experimented with drinking a bunch. And one of my buddies, who I'll let him remain nameless, but so it was 10th grade. It was like, I want to say football season had just kind of like ended. And he's like, "Hey, I got stoned." And I'm like, "What?"
You got rocks thrown at you? What?
Well, one of the kids on his bus was like a couple years older than him, and like he lived out in like Taberg. So like you don't really, your neighbors live like a mile down the road kind of thing. So they had met up and he had smoked with him. So he's like, "Do you want to get stoned?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I do." So he's like, "All right, I'll set it up for tomorrow." So he went home that night, and his dad worked in like general contracting, so he's always had a bunch of like parts and shit up there. And he made a bowl. Well, later on, we come to find out like the bowl probably wasn't that smart of a thing, considering it was made from PVC pipe. And
Yeah, I think I want to talk about that. Like after you go through, your origin story of this, I want to talk about like the craziest things people have smoked out of. Like,
I have quite a
because I
few.
think we both have a good list of just shit that people are going to be like, "What?" But continue your
So
your
this would
origin
be
story.
one of the ones on my list right here. It was a straight PVC pipe that he glued together. And so he comes to school next day. He gets the pot on lunch. And like anybody that went to the old RFA, like you're allowed to leave campus for lunch and everything.
Yep.
And anybody that knows the setup of Rome knows Rome is built upon alleys. Like
But not built today.
every block in the city of Rome has alleys. So we walked a few blocks away from the school. I can actually still show you the spot. Like I know exactly the spot it was. And we went behind these bushes and we smoked out of this fucking PVC pipe. And then we walked back to school. So we left her because lunch always had 3 periods.
Okay.
And I had, I believe, the second period. So I skipped. We had an art class the period before. We skipped that, went smoked, came back for the first period of lunch, and then we sat there for 3 periods of lunch and proceeded to get 3 different lunches and just sat there and I was fucking high. I was so absolutely ripped. And 10th grade was probably 10th grade till senior year, like that 2-year period was like my peak smoking time.
Now, did you ever get caught in high school? Like by teachers or anything? Not like smoking, but being high in school. Did you ever get caught?
I think they knew, but nobody ever like called. Like I was never disciplined for it ever. And so like I remember the same buddy, he actually got caught trying to he had a steamroller in his backpack. And so it was like right before winter break, and it was like the week before, and we had because like my parents' house was only a couple blocks away from RFA, so my parents had a Cape Cod, so the attic was just kind of like what was above the garage, so it was like just a big storage room. It wasn't really an attic; it was on the second floor. So when we lived in Turkey, they had a tobacco hookah. And we would smoke out of that, or we would just go up there during the day, smoke up there, walk back to school. Like, 'cause, wintertime, you don't want to be like, you stick out a little bit more, truancy officer, everything. Yeah. And I think he had gone to Odd Creations Junket in Rome and bought a steamroller, or had somebody buy a steamroller, something along those lines. And I don't know how they knew to look for it or whatever, but he got busted with it. So like he got busted with that. I remember one time, the closest I ever feel like I ever got like called out for it, and my mom does not remember this at all. But me and a couple of my buddies smoked. We actually, when Ponderosa was still in Rome, we were going to go to Ponderosa. I walk in first. Everything is cool. My one buddy walks in, looks at me, looks at the person, looks at the menu, and starts laughing hysterically. So me and my other buddy like look at him. My other buddy starts laughing hysterically, and they walk out. And I'm like, and then the lady's like looking at me, and I'm like, hang on, I'll be right back. I go out there, and my one buddy, he's like, I don't know, dude. I like crossed the barrier and I can't stop laughing. I don't even know what's funny. So we proceeded to have to go to Wendy's and buy spicy chicken sandwiches instead. But so I go home after and I'm fucking ripped. We smoked again, and I'm having dinner with my parents and my family now. And my mom goes, "Oh, Joe, what's wrong with you?" A little ha ha ha. And like she was oblivious. She didn't know till after I had graduated high school then. And I remember sitting there the whole rest of the dinner like this. Okay. Act normal, act normal, act normal. And just like freaking out. You know what I mean? But
I remember.
how about you?
High school, like Oneana. No, are you drinking honey?
Huh?
Are you drinking honey?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Like at like Oneana itself, like that high school, they no. Bosie's, on the other hand, like I went for IT. Um, Looking back now, I wish I'd stuck with it. I'd probably be fucking retired at this point in time life. But regardless, so when you're a junior, you went in the afternoon. Senior, you went in like the morning. So junior, I rode up with my dealer. Actually went to Bosie's once on fucking acid. The first time I ever took acid, I went to Bosie's, but again, whole other story in itself.
What?
Yeah, we're on our way up to Bosie's. They're like, my buddies are taking acid. They're like, you want to hit? I'm like, fuck it. But
How old were you?
I graduated when I was fucking 18. So 17?
Jesus Christ, Todd.
Yeah, so I was 13 in 8th grade, 14, 15. Yeah, I might have been 16, 17, something like that. So I went to Bosie's, tripped my face off. Regardless. So used to go high all the time. And the teachers, there was 3 teachers like in my IT class. And like they knew there was a couple of us that were fucking stoners, and like they knew, but like we still did our thing. We weren't, obnoxious or stupid or just fucking off, like we did our work. We built computer, like our final thing was literally here are all the parts to a computer, put it together, build it, make it work. Like that was again back in the late 90s, so there was a lot more components and shit like that to computers than there are now. You got the floppy drives and the hard, so it was a lot. I did it, just fine, but they knew, so they busted
the giant ass fucking monitors.
Yeah. So they would, I'd be like, hey, I don't understand this. Well, maybe if you weren't so high, you would, like that type of shit. And then something happened over the summer, and then the second year they were like, it was bad. Like they were, we went in the morning, and I actually never got high in the morning, and they accused me every day of being stoned, and I legitimately was not. Because they were like, when we came back, like I said, the first year everybody was cool. We got our shit done. Yeah, we were high, but we got our stuff done. And then the second year, all of a sudden they're like this and this, and if you're caught like this, you have to go to like this seminar thing for a day, and da 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 da. And we're like, okay, so that's why I was like, I'm not smoking at all, and literally every day. And then a lot of crazy events happened, this, that, and the other thing. I ended up dropping out, and just basically my senior year, my one buddy took a lot of drugs one night. Again, the 90s. There's a lot more drugs going around that were, I don't want to say safer, but not killing people like they are now. A lot of acid, a lot of, K, ecstasy, opium, shit like that. I smoked a lot of opium. Not good, but I did. So my one buddy got really fucked up the night before on a lot of different drugs, went to Bosie's the next day. We ended up leaving like 10 minutes early because the kid was sick as fuck and just wanted to go home. We got back to the school. The Bosie's bus came back, and those kids were like, you guys are fucked. They are pissed that you left early, da 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 da. The following Monday, we got pulled into the principal's office up at Bosie's, and he was a complete, like, screaming at us and, like, pointing at my one friend, Devin, who passed away a few years ago. Big dude, like, not a small motherfucker. And this dude's, like, pointing. I'm watching Devin. I'm like, he's about to fucking rip this dude's finger right off his hand. Like, legitimately, like, so went home, chatted with my mom about it and how whatever. And, my mom was like, no, Todd's not coming back. So my senior year, actually, I had 3 classes, first 3 periods. And then that was it for me for school. I either went to work, or if I had the day off, I just hang out at the school, like during lunch, shit like that. But that was my senior year. So yeah, like I said, Oneana never caught Bosie's every day. And then my parents, one time my mom made a comment, why are your eyes so red? I'm like, well, I was at John's house and his cat was in his room the whole time. Allergies. Good part about having allergies. You can blame all being high on fucking allergies.
So, Todd, in about 30 seconds here, we are going to hit the 20-minute mark.
Yes.
On 420. On the Lord's year of 2024.
The Lord's year.
Anyone who knows
Sherlock.
That's like a Gandalf pipe, bro.
You like that?
That's pretty. So
ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's funny too, being like, smoking out of two completely different devices.
Like the past and the future combining to make the
Into
present.
One. Ooh. I'm actually smoking on some Point Break today. It is a grapefruit strain, very delicious.
I'm currently smoking some mango haze.
Beautiful. Is that from a local dispensary?
Yes, it is. Fire and Glass.
Excellent. There are a lot more
Free
than
shout
popping
out
up,
for
man.
It's wild.
It's crazy to think about. Again, I'm not like, I'm old as the hills, but I do remember in 8th grade when the news hit, California passes Proposition 215, legal medical marijuana. And I'm like, everybody, oh, fuck. And to think about 13-year-old me back then being like, oh my God, California, just for medical use, legal, blah, 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 to sitting here now that I fucking work on a pot farm. It's crazy to me to be like, wow. And it's also crazier to be able to walk into a fucking store, like I always envisioned it would be like, Philip Morris, RJ Reynolds type shit where you can walk in any gas station, which it might get to that point when it becomes legal on a federal level.
Right.
But still be walking to a designated store and be like, hi, I'm here to legally purchase marijuana without being a medical patient. Like,
Dude,
it's crazy.
So one of the first experiences I had, and it really blew my mind. I'm going to walk in. As I'm walking in, somebody I work with is walking out. And it's like, now, like, I knew he partaked. He knew I partaked. So it wasn't like a shocker kind of thing. But it was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And then walking in and just everything out on display. And it's like, do you want to join our, like, frequent flyer fucking club? And
They should have called it a frequent hire club.
Yeah, right. And well, I think the fly was the intent there.
Yeah.
But and if you pay with cash, you get a 10% discount. And I'm like, oh, and over here we have our edibles. Over here we have our sativas, our indicas. Here are hybrids and our cartridges here. And I'm like, this is fucking weird. Like, so weird.
So it was the first one you ever went to in New York?
No, I went to one in Boston.
Okay. I went to one in Mass, like right by the border. I can't remember that, like literally like exit 1 or 2 or some shit like that.
But like the one in Boston was like real, like almost felt like major company vibe to it.
That's how the one I went to as well. There was, I think when I went out there was only like 2. But yeah, it was very like, it felt like I walked into a bank.
Yes.
Like a very nice bank.
but like the one in Rome, it still like had like that head shop vibe to it. Like it was very like, because even like to get into the place, you got to like park in the back and walk in through the back. Like it's like, and it's kind of dark, and like you got over to the left, you have this old dude filling pre-rolls, and it's just like he's got like a jar of like 40 different strains, like just sitting there, and like it's still at a head shop vibe. But like you said, when I like envisioned in my head, oh, when they legalize it, it's gonna be like walking into Walmart. Hi, welcome into Weed Mart. Yeah. Over here we have your CBD oils. Over here we have your, hemp rope. Over here we have your edible oil, and it just it's like a slow roll. And I don't know, man. Like
Well, New York fucked that up. I mean, we're not going to go down that road, but we all know that New York just dropped the ball on this whole legalization thing in the first place. It was here it's legal, but you can't grow it, sell it, or buy it. But somebody can give it to you as a gift, and that's okay. But where they get it from, it's probably illegal, So it was like it was a very weird law, for those of you who don't know what happened in New York State when they legalized it. It was a shit show. They're like literally dispensaries just started opening like a year ago. Mm-hmm. And it's been legal since what, 2021, 2022, something 2021, I think.
I want to say 2021. Yeah, because it was like one of the first things they did like post-COVID.
Yeah. So it's like took 2 years, so and then it was limited licenses. All the people that grew a bunch that were whatever couldn't give it to anybody because no dispensaries were open. Like it was every other state that's legalized for recreational use has been like, it's legal. Here's the stores. Here you go. And within like 6 months, they're fucking, hit the ground running. But so it just the rollout of it was weird. And then up here there are, I know there's, Indian reservations everywhere, but then they started doing stuff separately from New York, so it was like all over the place. But it's New York kind of just, I envision if it was done differently, like we would have a lot more storefronts that would be more like what we thought it would be like.
Well, it's starting to get to the point where it's how I kind of envision it to be until it does get legalized on a federal level. Like you're not going to see it in your everyday stores or whatever. You're not going to be able to buy it at the gas station like beer. It's going to be like liquor stores where there has to be specialized storefronts, which is fine by me. Like, and the fact that you can grow it yourself makes me feel a lot better personally.
Which so that's still a gray area. And I just because it's the only law I actually ever studied when it was going through, because I even watched like the House vote on it. Like it was ridiculous. Like, by all technicality, the only people that can currently grow are medical patients. Now is somebody gonna fucking turn somebody in because they saw 3 fucking plants in the backyard? No. If they're growing a field of it not legally, you might be in some shit. And it was supposed to be 18 months after the first storefront opens, regular people, can grow as well, which would be at like June. But I thought I saw not long ago that they hadn't come up with a definitive like law for that. Like originally it was supposed to be this, but I think they want to change shit. So now it's like, is it still going to be that same thing in June? Or, will anybody be able to, grow it and, whatever it's supposed to be, 3 mature, 3 immature plants at a time, blah, blah, blah. Which for, a small grow isn't terrible if you get it in the right rotation and cycle through it. You will have constant weed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like, that's not a lot. It's like, you can get more than you think off of a plant if it's done properly.
Like if you grow a couple outdoor summertime season only, you'll have enough to last you a whole year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't, I don't know. Last year for me, the outdoor grow was terrible. So I'm putting that off for a while.
See, I didn't have the issue.
Yeah, some people did. Some, people I talked to, they're like, yeah, powdery mildew up the ass. And other people are like, mm-mm. But I also had that bud rot and spider mites. So the only thing I didn't have was fucking aphids, but that's just another grossness in itself. But yeah, man, no, it's cool to be able to be like, sweet. I know somebody, we know somebody that owns, it's Raven's Joint out in Clay, New York. And then a buddy, a couple buddies of mine own Doja in Oneonta, which that is a veteran-owned business.
Nice.
Corey, my main owner, he is a Iraqi vet. So he went in. He was actually in boot camp when like 9/11 happened.
Yikes.
So he did a couple tours in Iraq and shit. So he owns that one. So there's Exit 31 in Utica, and none of these people are paying us. We are just throwing stuff out there. It's not us being like, here's people, and we're just, it's, you know what, man.
Tell you places we go to. Places
pot
we
meant to be shared in the first place. So I'm going to share places that you can get pot to share with people.
Right.
And of course, Verona Collective out in Verona, New York.
That one seems a little self-serving, Todd.
Hey, come on. It's because I work there. I don't work at the dispensary. So,
Todd.
Joe.
So, what is your go-to to partake in on a day-to-day basis?
Like device, strain,
Correct.
or both?
Both. Why not?
So I can't, over the years, and when we talk about crazy things we've smoked out of, probably understand this a little bit better.
Well, that's what we're going to segue into after that.
So I can't really take bong hits anymore. But again, we'll get to that and people will understand why. So generally pipes, sometimes, a joint, but most of the time it's my go-to is a pipe. And I am a sativa guy, and this was going to be something I guess we can kind of cover real quick and whatever. But my absolute favorite strain, which is a sativa, is Strawberry Cough. Like hands down. And don't get me wrong, man, there's been a couple that have come along recently, especially with the dispensary or whatever, that I'm like, this is really good. But Strawberry Cough, man, that's a good strain. It was such a just perfect high. Like I had energy, I could get stuff done. It wasn't anxiety energy, it wasn't panic attack energy, like too much. The taste was good, the high was clear. Like it was just, I've smoked a lot of weed in my life and a lot of strains, and I have to say, like, that is it. But yeah, pipe generally is my go-to.
So for me, it's this bad boy here. It's not a oil vaporizer. It is a flower vaporizer. And again, this is not a paid advertisement. This is just where I got it. Planetofthevapes.com. I love the name of their storefront.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
And like it's awesome. It vaporizes the flower right in there. Put it in, heats it up, rechargeable. They have a bunch I have not purchased, but they have a bunch of attachments that you can like turn into a water bubbler. You can turn into a bunch of different things. And
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I personally, in my day-to-day, is a little bit of also sativa, green crack punch. It's grown from another, not a paid advertisement, royalqueenseeds.com.
Who, thanks to you, I get myself and my father get real quality seeds, and I tell everybody about them. Like everybody that I'm like, you grow from seed, yeah, you got to check the site out. And there are honestly a lot of people that have been like, oh yeah, I have, or whatever. Like I haven't, some that have bought from it. So it's not paid advertisement. Yeah, but Royal Queen seeds, man. I'll tell you what, you germinate them old school like paper towel, and I've gotten to pop in like 2 days.
Yep, same here.
Root structure great, plant great, like.
And like the green crack punch, I like and that's the thing with the vaporizer too. Like you really taste the flavor. Like there's no smoky overtones.
What punch is it crossed with?
Fruit punch.
Ooh, nice.
Yep. And so there's none of the smoky overtones. Like you literally taste like each strain is like
and shit.
Yeah, like each flavor, it's wild. Like how different each one tastes. And it's just
heating it, not burning it. That was the cool part about vaporizers when they first came out. Like the the dome ones and shit like that, like the glass whatever and the tube. Like I had one of those. Like, yeah, because you're not burning it. You're actually like heating it. So you are getting, those terpenes aren't just like torched as soon as the fucking lighter hits it.
Right. And I like the fact I'm not inhaling smoke either. Like, I don't know. It's just prior to that, joint bowls. But for probably like the last 6 months, I've had this bad boy. And I won't go back.
Is it smooth?
It's so smooth, dude. And I can only imagine. And like they have like a ice head that you can put on it. So when you hit
nice.
it just. Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right, well, then that must mean we have to talk about the craziest shit we've made and or smoked out of.
So, like, for us, for the longest time, the go-to, regardless of where we were, was the classic apple bowl. And, like, now, mind you, this is, like, before, like, everything's on the internet. This was, like, stuff that we thought we were super smart with creating, but at the end of the day, like every kid in America was like, soft surface, and then I can eat it after.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure all my friends' houses, when I was in my pot smoking time, nobody's bathroom faucets had screens on them because that's where we would take our screens from. I'm pretty sure like not one of them had any screen on it ever. And one of my favorite things that we made, we went to Price Chopper and bought a bunch of different fruits that we were going to, because my parents were out of town. And so, like, let me preface this that nobody taught us how to smoke. So my one friend that started with me, and we kind of like, dude, it was like a cancer. We all just like infected all our friends. And we assumed it was like beer. So, like, you buy a 30-pack with 4 guys there, you keep drinking it all till the beer's gone. So we would buy, 4 or 5 dime bags, and we would sit in a circle for an hour and just keep passing it and packing it, passing it and packing it till it was all gone. And we would just get absolutely blitzed.
Well, yeah.
So that night we had 8 of us. Everybody brought weed. We had 9 devices going around. So somebody's got 2 at one point, like throughout the circle. And we bought a coconut and we drilled a fucking coconut and made it into this massive like steamroller with a fucking carbon, like different size drill bits. So like giant one up top for a giant bowl. And we sat there with a fucking coconut like this. Jesus. It tasted awesome. And then I think somebody got it smashed over their head at one point. So that was one of my favorites. What about yours?
So we, everybody's watched Half Baked. We were the MacGyver smokers. We were the ones that were like, whatever. So the first bong I ever smoked out of was a bong we called Big Bird. It was made out of a wiffle ball bat. So I'm smoking a 3-foot bong basically.
Yeah.
That was, when I first started smoking. And then, I don't remember back in the day when people would go to like spring break and they'd get those crazy fucking big like plastic cups that the drinks were in with whatever. Like we made bongs out of those. The one thing I do regret, I mean, we did the sync thing, like sealing the fucking screens out of the whatever, but when we couldn't do that, and this was not smart, like looking back on it now as a semi-mature adult, we would cut holes in my buddy's window screen and use that. Not good, dude. Like, at least sync screens.
It's not metal. Well, some of them are metal.
Yeah, I think it was old. It was an old house, so it probably was metal, like not a good metal, like not a metal you should be heating up and inhaling anything through kind of metal.
Probably not. See, like we would just use tinfoil, and
we would do that too. We'd make pipes, all whatever, but I have to say, And I can get at least 2 other people that would willingly either record or come on here to testify to this, because a lot of people are like, no, you didn't know. That's your fucking bullshit. We did create and put together a 16-foot bong. So,
is there any evidence of this?
Not anymore. It was the 90s. So this was how it was. So we had a 1-foot bong that was an hourglass shape. Okay. And inside a set of golf clubs, there's like the plastic tubes that the golf clubs are in.
Yeah.
Those are about 3 feet long. So they also fit perfectly into the bong because of the hourglass shape. It would make it airtight. So we just attached a bunch of those together. You sat at the top of the stairs of this loft, and they lit it at the bottom of the stairs. It would clear a whole fucking bowl. Like, there was no whatever. And 2 of my buddies, again, one, my friend Devin, who passed away a few years ago, and my buddy John, who I still play games with almost every night, over 6 feet tall, are the only 2 to ever clear it on one hit. Like, clear it like on one hit. They were the only 2. I tried it, man. I fucking, because you're pulling and pulling, so when the smoke gets up to you, whatever, and they pull the fucking slide. And I tried to clear that fucking thing, and like I got like halfway and was dying. Like, I felt my lungs the next day. Like, I woke up, it was like I coughed and was like, oh God, like that's terrible. So yeah, like I said, man, there's no evidence. We didn't, we weren't like picture takers and shit back then. So
I have a task for you, Todd.
Yeah.
So for our second annual 420 special, I want you to recreate this bong. Rebuild it.
That's I could, I suppose. I will not smoke out of it. I smoke a lot of bongs, man. And that's why I can't do bong hits anymore, is because my lungs are fucking. I mean, I smoked cigarettes too for a while, but I had 3-footers, 4-footers, 5-footers. I would fucking have like bong hitting contests with people, but what they didn't know is that right before they came over, I would use my inhaler, so my lungs were completely like open. And then I'm just ripping 3-footers like it's nobody's business. These people were like, oh my God, like not coughing, nothing, but they didn't know I was using my fucking inhaler right before they came over. But yeah, so that's why I can't even, like, I have like little bongs and shit, and like they even sometimes fucking destroy me. I just don't have that capacity anymore. And it's because of shit like 16-foot bong hits. Yes.
Go to the vaporizer, Todd.
So that's why I can't do bong hits anymore, is because my lungs. And I smoked a lot of opium when I was younger too. That didn't help. Smoked a lot of opium.
Pot and shrooms are the.
I did a lot of mushrooms too.
Yeah, that's like I know I have a very addictive personality, so I always very consciously was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that stuff because I probably will love it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to partake in that.
Yeah, opium was crazy. It was just, it gets you high. I wasn't like, oh my God, man, I need my fix, like, at all. Like, it was just like a more intense weed high. Most of the time, you just put it on top of weed. There was a couple of times I was just smoking hookahs of opium, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, that was an interesting. We did it in high school. We were getting in high school, but then like when I was in college, somebody was like, I can get grams of black tar. It was like $10 or $15 a gram. I'm like, okay, here's a bunch of money. And back then you didn't have to worry about like fentanyl and shit.
Yeah.
Ugh. People weren't lacing your shit. Like,
that scares me, man.
Yeah.
That shit. That's another reason why I'm such a I'm so for like people growing their own shit. Like, it just, I don't know.
Or even getting it from a trusted, like legal source. It all
Right.
gets tested. Trust me, it all gets fucking tested. Like it's. I'm there. I see it. So people, like. Unfortunately, this stuff, everybody's like around here. It's like, well, it's cheaper to buy it from my dealer. And it's like, that's cool, man. Like, and if he grows it, cool. But if he's getting it from somewhere else, like, you might want to just be careful with that shit. Like, even if it's somebody you trust, you don't know what they're getting, and if they even know what they're getting. Like
I would never just buy, like, I don't know. Like, if you're like, hey Joe, you want to buy? If it was something you grew, wouldn't think twice about it.
Yeah.
But like, there needs to be a strong level of trust there for me to just buy it off somebody. And like, that blows my mind too, because like, I remember like me and my buddies, doing that typical, everybody like, oh, I'm staying at this person's house, staying at this person's house, staying at this person's house. Well, we had our one buddy who he had moms. So his mom was a lesbian with another woman, but they had been together most of his life.
We called him the lesbian with another woman.
Yeah,
weird if she was a lesbian.
Well, hey, dude, nowadays you don't know what to say about what. But back in the early 2000s, there was two women who loved each other. We called them lesbians then. I'm not sure what they call it now. But so they were always like gone on weekends. So like we all would just end up crashing there. So I remember for one weekend we didn't have weed. So we're just literally just walking around the city of Rome. And we get to like downtown and we see a group of kids. I'm not going to say names, but it's a family that we all know is not a good family. And we had like, I don't know, like $50 between like the 4 or 5 of us. And, one of the kids that we were with had like tech class with like the oldest one in the family. And they're like, hey, can you get some weed? And I'm like, yeah. And like, he's like, yeah, just give me your money. Takes the money and he gives it to one kid, and the kid takes off on a bike. So like he says it's gonna take 10 minutes, right? So like they sent me and my one friend over there. This was actually the same friend who got me stoned for the first time. And there's like 8 of these kids, like, and then my buddy's like, so like half hour passes. Nobody comes back. So then he goes and walks across the street with the rest of our friends and like leaves me there. Like, and I'm just standing there. I'm like, fuck this, man. We get like, that's all my money, man. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And
when you're younger, $50. I mean, $50 is a lot now, but when you're fucking younger, it's even more.
And that was like between like 5 or 6 of us putting our money together.
Yeah.
Dude, hour and a half later, kid comes back with our fucking weed. Like, gives it to boom. And did you follow skateboarding at all when I had the Chad Muska circus shoes, and in the tongue of them were the stash pocket. The whole reason I bought the fucking shoes because of the stash pocket. So we're walking back across the city to go behind Kennedy Arena to go smoke. So we fucking sit there and we smoked about half of what we bought, which was not typical for us, but like we weren't like in like a safe spot. We felt like,
yeah.
Usually we would just smoked it off. So we're walking and we're going, and cop car pulls up. And it's like probably about midnight, 12:30, but it's like a Saturday in the summer. And a cop goes, hey, you guys, wait right here. And we're like, fuck, I have the weed in my fucking shoe. And I'm like, I'm going to jail, man. Like, and the cop goes, yeah, you sure? There's only 2? And they're both black? Okay. He looks at you, all right, you guys can go. We're looking for 2 African-American suspects, one with a yellow shirt and the other. So our one friend had a yellow shirt on. And the funny thing, we were busting his balls earlier. We're like, why the fuck are you wearing a bright yellow shirt? Like, dude, we got stopped because he had a bright yellow shirt on. And, like, we're walking back, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, you fucking piece of shit. Like,
You fucked up my eye for that.
like, seriously. So then we had to go smoke the rest of it. Ugh.
Yeah, no, I don't. There's a story that I'm not gonna talk about on a recorded anything.
Okay.
But other than police wise, I got lucky. There was one time I went, like, I was half drunk, which was rare. I like never drank, and I was stoned, and I like had driven somewhere on like Southside Noniana to do something, pick somebody up. I had my buddy with me, and him and my other buddy had just gotten arrested for weed like a couple days before that. So we're headed back to my one friend's house, and like it's nighttime, like country, so just not streetlights don't exist.
Right.
So we're just cruising and shit, you know, and like I thought I was doing pretty good, and like all of a sudden, like up over like the fucking hill behind us is a fucking cop car, like full bore, fucking lights on and everything. And I'm like, fuck, dude. My buddy saw, he's like, well, man, he's like, what the fuck? You know, I'm like, I don't even know what I did. I was like, I'm screwed because, you know, I had drank a little bit. I was stoned. He was like, dude, I just got fucking arrested like a week ago. So I'm like, well, I was like, well, fuck, man, my life's over. You know, this is gonna suck. So I fucking like pull over, and fucking goes right by us. And I'm like, so I'm sitting there for a minute. We're not far from my buddy's house, like maybe a half a mile.
Right.
And my buddy in the car, he's like, go. He's like, go now. And I'm like, all right, dude. Like, and we made it back. And like, it happened. It sucked because it happened to be April 1st. So when we got back to my buddy's house, like I was like fucking pale and shit, you know, because like my heart, you know, my parents, I was like, if I'm whatever, my parents are gonna kick my
should have got tested then, Todd.
So like, you know, we tell him the story. My buddy's like, oh, funny. He's like, April Fool's, da da da. And I looked at him, I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, seriously, like, not an April Fool's joke. Like that shit happened. And yeah, dude, I was like, this is it. And he's just like whips by us. And we're just like, oh.
Dude, there are a few times, like, I've never, like, that's probably the closest I ever got to being busted by the cops. Like, I remember one time, so every year RCH does the RCH field days. So one year, my buddy, same buddy who got me stoned for the first time, his buddy from Camden was coming down, and he could get that you know, real good Camden weed from, we'll say, a very famous Native American tribe, leaders, family, blah blah blah. So, and he's like, I'll bring Scooby-Doo. Dude, it was a hookah. It was Scooby's face.
Nice.
And like coming out of his nose, and then coming out of his ears were the things, and on top of his head. So we had that, and then so we went in the dugout. So this festival's like 200 yards away from us. We go in the dugout and smoke probably close to a half ounce between 10 of us over the course of like an hour. And then we go into the festival. And like first people we see are my buddy's parents. And we're like, dude, I feel like the whole time, like my face is just like stretched out, and I'm like,
Yep. Because
and then we see like a couple of our football coaches and like shit like that. And we're just walking around. I'm like, dude, never again. I'm never doing this again. Oh my God. And I think we did it the next year.
Yeah, it can, you know, I've been like that, like tripping on mushrooms, trying to act normal around like parents and shit. It's terrible.
Right.
But,
so,
well,
Todd, I got a question for you.
Yeah, what up?
What are your top 5? So, if I understood the assignment correctly, not top 5 songs that I enjoy while I'm stoned, but top 5 songs about being stoned, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Top 5 like pot songs. Like, I mean, they could also be songs you enjoy. You know, if it's a pot song, well, I guess it doesn't have to be about pot if you're high. Yeah, no, it was the
Right.
first thing.
So what is your number 5?
All right. So my number 5, I have to say, is Who's Got the Joint? And it is by a group that I just got back into, but they're terrible now. The Cottonmouth Kings.
Oh, I remember the Cottonmouth Kings.
Now, you know, early Cottonmouth Kings was a shit and a lot of crap happened, and now it's just not what it used. But regardless, I've been a fan of them for a long time. It's seemed like 2 or 3 times in concert. Good shows. So that is my number 5.
All right. Mine is Young, Wild, and Free by Wiz Khalifa, Bruno Mars, somebody else. It really encapsulates especially like a young stoner, like just
Yeah, oh yeah.
I just enjoy it very, very much.
Yeah.
Your 4 would be?
I actually have it's weird, but I have like a tie for number 4.
All right.
One is Who's Got the Herb by 311.
Okay, that's a good one.
And then Smoke Two Joints, Sublime.
Also very, very good.
That's a kind of like a tie for me in like 4th, because the top 3 are like top 3. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
Right.
like I had to have one as a 4th way tie.
I get it. Mine would be The Next Episode.
Fantastic song. Fantastic album.
So I got really into rap a couple years, probably 3 or 4 years after The Chronic came out. So I like listened to it after. So like say 97, 98. So then Drake comes out with Eminem, and then 2001. So 2001 probably meant more to me, where I feel like The Chronic probably meant more to you.
Yeah.
Just because like there is that's where that age gap falls. You know what I mean? So like I knew Ain't Nothing But a G Thing, and to finally get The Next Episode, and I feel like every school dance, end of the song, you got the censored version, and then you have a bunch of 7th graders, smoke weed every day. Like it just.
Yep. Censored versions.
And actually, so you want to hear something crazy? Did you ever watch NCIS?
Mm-mm.
So in the original NCIS, there's this Scottish medical examiner. He's the medical examiner. He actually just passed away a year or 2 ago.
Oh.
The actor, he was also kind of an accomplished musician. And that whole na-na-na-na-na was from a sample from one of his songs from like the 70s.
Oh, nice.
So, and this guy was on NCIS for like 15 years. Like, and he's responsible for The Next Episode. You're number 3.
I Want to Get High by the mighty Cypress Hill.
That is a good one.
Yep.
Mine, Might As Well Get Stoned by Chris Stapleton.
There you go.
And we pretty much have seen him. We've seen him 3 times now. We kind of plan on going to see him every year. And just when that comes on, you feel the atmosphere change a little bit. And wait, what did I just? Hang on. No, never mind. Never mind. So, it's great. I love it. What's your number 2?
Too High for the Supermarket by The Uninvited.
Oh my God, I forgot about that song. Dude, I remember like 8th and 9th grade in my room listening to K-Rock, and that would come on. And like making me want to be a pod.
The first time I heard it, I literally was like, am I am I that high that I'm making this song up in my head, or are they really talking? Like, am I legitimately hearing a song on the radio about being too stoned for the supermarket? Like,
How's that?
and then I
Too
heard it
high for
again
the
after that, and I'm
supermarket,
like,
too high for the
yeah,
store.
it encapsulates what a stoner, the struggle of a stoner in the supermarket. Like,
Well, that theme segues into my number 2. I think probably the most well-known stoner song ever by a guy who describes himself by his hair. Afro Man, Because I Got High. I mean, I feel like every single part of that song, we've all kind of done most of that.
yeah, oh yeah.
Like that's I don't know. Like, dude, why didn't you? Oh, sorry. Like last night, I was gonna play Xbox, but I went to bed. Why were you so tired? Because I got high. And what's your number 1, Todd?
Another one from the mighty Cypress Hill. Hits from the Bong.
I had a feeling you were gonna lean heavy to Cypress Hill, and then when you got on with the shirt, I had a feeling that would go this way. That is a classic. Mine. So since you did a tie with your 4th, my ones are gonna, because they complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
How High and Part 2 by Red and Meth. Well, where is it? Little meth.
Don't worry, everybody. This is a pot show.
Dang. But like
looking back, I wonder if Method Man's like, now that meth becomes such a big weird drug, and people just call me meth sometimes. Like, shouldn't that be the smartest thing to go with?
Should have been Marijuana Man. But like, dude, like that. Because Red and Met, like, the Rockwilder, How High, dude, the How High soundtrack to this day is tied up there with 8 Mile for me for like favorite movie soundtracks. Like, not talking scores, just like soundtracks.
Yeah.
Like, I must have listened to that a million times. Like, in 4 years and years after. Like, I still listen to it, like when I'm doing yard work and shit like that. And so I think that we can segue that into your top 5 favorite stoner movies. Now, I found it very impressive that with our top 5 songs, neither one of us overlapped.
Yes. I have a funny feeling we might, maybe 1 or 2 of these.
If it's less than 2, I would be, or if it's 2 or less, I'll be surprised. What's your number 5?
How High?
All right. Well, we do overlap because that's my number 1. But so, we might as well talk about it now. One of my favorite memories of being stoned was going to the premiere of this, like premiere night. I didn't go to like Hollywood when they actually premiered the movie. Like, that would have been really cool, but like, no. So it was me, my buddy Steve that passed away, and a buddy of mine. We called him Billy Bob. He was up. He moved here from Tennessee. We called him Billy Bob, and we went to Taco Bell, and we each got a 10-pack of tacos. Jesus. And we went behind the movie. Oh no, I think we smoked behind the movies first. Went to Taco Bell, got the 10 tacos each, went in the movies, and we saw How High on the screen eating 10 tacos apiece.
They didn't say anything to you, or didn't they? Did you hide them?
No, like it was wintertime, so we had our coats on. So
okay.
we snuck them in, and
strolling in with bags of Taco Bell.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. What are you gonna do? What? And the movie with the soundtrack, like they were like my Cheech and Chong. Like I respect Cheech and Chong. I like Cheech and Chong. It's just like it just missed my generation kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think my generation was like the last of really like the Cheech and Chong generation, to be honest with you. Because it was getting to that point where they really hadn't done anything. It was like the 80s they did something, but it was not what the originals were, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I think it was pretty much my like generation area that was the end of the Cheech and Chong era, unfortunately.
So what are your feelings about How High?
It's a good movie. I enjoy it. I was exposed to other movies, you know, before that were, you know, more stuck with me because it was more at like the beginning of when I started smoking compared to, you know,
kind of like what this was for, kind of like for me, because this was like around the time I started getting stoned, and like it. So my number 5 would be Friday.
That's my number 4.
But I love the series as a whole. I truly hope if they do Last Friday, they do bring Chris Tucker back.
See, that's the only, like, I don't want to say the only reason. Like, I just he added, like, I don't know, man. Like, that movie mostly was because of him in a way. And I watched the other ones, you know. Now I wasn't like, fuck that, he's on it, I won't watch him. It just didn't. There was something about that character and the way he did it and the way he whatever did. Like
he Chris Tuckered it.
And you took the character out, and it really like threw it off because it just, I don't know, man. Like that story was a great story.
Next Friday. I like Next Friday.
See,
Friday
I would
after
have
next.
to watch it again. I mean, I watched it when it came out, and I don't even remember when that was.
Like I don't mind the Day character. I think the 3 of them together would be amazing, and I truly do hope they bring back Chris Tucker for Smokey. Like I want to see, and like now like Debo's dead. Like so, and the father's dead.
Yep, that's true.
So like, I mean, I feel like you got to do it relatively soon, or it just won't ever happen. So your 4 is Friday. Mine is Harold and no, yes, Harold and Kumar. That's my 4. Yes, I like the other 2. They're good. They're good continuation. Yeah. I love that first movie, and that was probably I had quit smoking for a while, and then started smoking again. And this came out around the time I started smoking again. And I was like, I was early 20s at that point. It just, it hit home in a way that a lot of movies don't. So what's your 3?
Homegrown.
Who's in that?
Billy Bob Thornton, Hank Azaria, Ryan Felipe, fucking Jamie Lee Curtis, Bon Jovi. If you've never seen it, like
I have seen it.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
What's that?
How old is it?
90s, 98.
Yeah, I was just say it's older. Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody out there hasn't seen it, it's on. Last I knew, it was on Tubi, which is free. There's commercials, but they're not like. If you have Pluto TV, the commercials are terrible. They're constant. Tubi actually, like, it's
very quick, 30-second.
But it's spread out. It's not here's 5 minutes and now you're watching a commercial. Here's 5 minutes. It was, 10, 15, 20 minutes and then like a minute and a half of commercials, but I'm okay with that. But anyway, I'm pretty sure it's on there to watch for free if anybody's never watched it. It is a great fucking movie. Not like a comedy, really. I mean, there's a couple little funny quips, but it's more of like a serious-ish movie about like guerrilla growers, it was the 90s, blah blah blah, in Northern California. But it is, it's definitely I mean, you can't go wrong. Billy Bob Thornton, friggin' Hank Azaria, like
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. Bon Jovi was the shit because Ted Danson was in it too. I forgot Ted Danson was in it. So yeah, it was just, and I don't even know if it was actually like I could be wrong. Like part of me wants to say it was only like a film festival movie, but I could be wrong.
It was an independent film, I feel like.
Yeah, which is crazy to have that many people like that, especially in the 90s, because that's when like all those people were like
relevant.
Yeah. So it's like you had this massive cast, and you were an independent film, which is awesome. Like that's awesome, but it's crazy to look that you're not a major Hollywood $1 million budget film and you got this cast. Like, so yes, that's my number 3.
Mine is Half Baked.
That's my number 2.
I like how we're like segueing into each other. Now, so you were a little bit older than me when it came out. What did Half Baked mean to you?
Half Baked, I gotta see when it came out so I can actually see how much older. Half Baked, 80, 98. So I was 16 in 98. Yeah, I was born in 82.
Yeah, so I was 12.
Yeah, so because I had been smoking for a couple of years at this point, so now I'm like to the level where I can consider myself like a pothead or a stoner, because like now it's been like 3 years. It was, I can't even really be like it was a modern day Cheech and Chong, because it wasn't. It was a very well told story that was funny, but not stupid to be funny. Like the jokes or whatever, like, when they call the delivery service and the guy shows up and he was like, oh, somebody would call a plumber, something about empty pipes, like he's like secret code, like, just like little witty shit like that. The cast, the cameos, Willie Nelson, Snoop, fucking
Bob
Jon
Saget.
Stewart, Bob Saget.
Like that's one of those, like,
that's the first time I ever saw Bob Saget as himself.
Correct.
Like, yes, and I was 16, so at that point in time I should have heard or seen something of not, Full House Bob Saget, but I hadn't. So
there really wasn't much out there at that point. It's not like you could go on YouTube and look up Bob Saget stand up, or like go on Apple Music and download his comedy albums. Like,
so the first to hear him say that shit, it was just like, Danny Tanner.
Right.
I mean, it was a good movie, and that was the cool part too. It was supposed to be a stupid stoner movie, but it really was a lot more than that. It told a story. It wasn't a stupid story. It made sense. It was, like, it was a bank heist of pot. How many fucking bank heist movies have they made? How many Oceans whatever movies have they made? Like, somebody was just like, hey, let's do it about weed when weed's taboo. But yeah, no, that movie was,
See, like when I first started smoking, Half Baked was like one of those movies like you have to watch this.
Yeah.
Like more so than like Cheech and Chong, it was like watch Half Baked. Like, oh, you smoke pot now, watch this. And like, so it's one of those first movies that like I might have even seen it before I actually smoked, like just because of the buzz around the movie or whatever. But it was one of those movies like, oh, that's just, the tie dye, the munch, like, and all those stereotypes. And then like all of a sudden you start seeing kids at school with little rope necklaces, tie dye shirts, the messy hair with the whole like Spicoli eyes, like, and it's just that fun movie. And like you said, it's a funny comedy spin on the bank heist thing. And so that was your number 2?
Yes.
So my number 2 is Pineapple Express.
Good movie.
I love that. And I always felt like there could have been much more with those characters. And now, like, we'll never see anything because James Franco's a douche. And, but like those two characters, like the straight-laced stoner, it was like the Odd Couple met Cheech and Chong mixed in with like action adventure, and it's such a fun movie. And like to realize like this dude who I'm kind of taking for granted, like just as my dealer, I'm now realizing is kind of my best friend. He's who I spend the most time with. Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
And like I thought that was cool. And then like it was funny, like you got this young early 20-something thing dating. Actually, that's fucking Amber Turd in that movie, isn't it?
I think so.
I'm pretty sure it is. Like with Seth Rogen dating like the super hot younger girl still in high school, like just like the whole, and the Rosie Perez of all people, you know, it's such a wild ride, and I always have so much fun watching it because
yes, it is her.
Yeah, that's what I thought, and
just
it's like mixing so many different tropes and like genres together, and it's such a fun ride, and like it was such peak Rogen and James Franco, you know.
Yeah.
I loved it. So what's your number one?
Up in Smoke.
I had a feeling.
Man. That was what we watched when we were younger. Before Half Baked came out. That was it. Pop movies.
Right.
Cheech Chong. And even that, like Up in Smoke and Still Smoking are good movies. Nice Dreams was okay, but starting to get a little like you feel like you're running out of ideas. Like this weed turns you into an iguana. And then after that, like the Corsican Brothers and Here in My Bedroom, like we were like, back in my day when you used to go to the video store and rent them VHSs and put them in your tape player. We were like, we'll watch all of them. Let's go and rent like every Cheech and Chong movie. And then you start like Here in My Bedroom. I think it was the next movie, Here in My Bedroom, Corsican Brothers. They were not good movies. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of like you kind of were the first-ish to do movies like that,
100%.
Like, that's the thing, but you kind of like did it all at once.
Like, and like they really were the OGs of that genre. And like we've had so many different people emulate that, especially like the early versions of what they were. Yeah. And it's like you can't hate on them. Like I feel like Cheech has gone off to actually prove himself as a true actor in various different roles and everything that he's done over there, where Tommy's kind of just leaned into the Tommy Chong persona. Like he essentially was Chong for the whole time he was on that 70s show.
Yeah,
like, and
I think that's
like
just him.
Right. And like I'll be honest, I kind of enjoy watching him on there more so than watching the Cheech and Chong movies. Like, because like at this point, like I appreciate Cheech and Chong. It'd be like me like watching Laurel and Hardy now and being like they're the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Like it just everything is gone.
Although I still will any time it's on watch the Three Stooges.
Depending on which three it is.
This is true. Yes, I'm the original three, and then Shemp. I'm good with. After that, it was Joe. Maybe yeah. It was kind of like it's the four, I guess. OGs. Yeah, call it.
Well, because Shemp was Moe's real life brother.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I'll like that is one that is I sometimes it's on like AMC or some crap, and in the mornings, and I will watch that shit because
trust me, I work overnights. I know all about the late night TV.
So
I want to talk about, and like, I originally was going to say top 5, but like, well, we can throw some honorable mentions up in this bitch because you know what, Todd? This is our show. This is our special. We do what we want. We're gonna do what we want. So, give me one of your favorite stoner duos.
there's a lot. There's a lot to pick from. There's a lot to choose from. But I got to go old school. Not the old school you're thinking. See, I think you think that I'm going to go one way with this old school thing off a trend of maybe what we were just talking about, but I'm not. I'm going to go back to like my childhood. Stoners before I knew they were stoners. Shaggy and Scooby.
That is old school.
I mean, people are going to be like, oh, he's going to say Cheech and Chong because he's just talking about him. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Shaggy and Scooby, man. Like,
and like,
because now looking at it, you're like, God damn, they were potheads. Like, they were stoned.
And the thing is, like, I don't know how you feel about the live action movies that they came out with.
I enjoyed the first one actually as a movie, but all the little hints, innuendos, Easter eggs, whatever you want to call it, towards everything everybody thought about the movie the series, growing up. The potheads, this, that, and the other thing. It was very well executed. Like, I think I maybe watched the second one, but wasn't as into it. But I
love both.
Enjoy the first one. Plus, I'm a big Matthew Lillard fan. So,
like, my youngest loves Scooby. So, and like, I've always actually really liked those movies. Matthew Lillard, I think, is an absolute gem.
Dude, he's amazing as Shaggy.
And I like that they insinuated it. And like, this will actually lead into the next duo I'll talk about, because they kind of portrayed it in their movie, but Jay and Silent Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm doing my best Kevin Smith impression right now. Like Jay and Silent Bob. Like, and the funny thing is, like, up until the more recent movies, I don't think you actually see them smoke until Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Yeah. I think they, but like, I know the most recent one they did. But like, anybody who knows me knows how much I love Kevin Smith. I love that whole universe. I love all those movies. And those two will always forever have a very, very special place in my heart. Even though Kevin doesn't smoke anymore and Jay doesn't either. Those characters, salute.
Man, what are they? A bunch of loser adults? No, that's cool, man.
I want to say Ted, the teddy bear, and John from Ted.
Yeah, that was again. I love the first movie, but the second.
Did you watch the series?
I haven't yet. I've been meaning to, but
bro, this series is amazing. It is so funny. How about Bill and Ted?
It's not like, direct, but highly and heavily insinuated on.
100%. Like, I don't care anybody who you can't argue with it. And like, I don't know, like, in me and Todd are actually looking to put together a little show. Hyper retroactive?
Yeah.
Retro hyperactive? I think retro hyperactive is what we have to go with. I don't know. It's going to be something like that. But we're going to talk about the old stuff we grew up with. Mm-hmm. And what's going to be awesome about this is not everything is like the same. Because there's like a 4 or 5 year age gap between me and Todd. So there are some things he kind of is like, what was the big thing we were talking about in the group chat?
Comics.
The X-Men, yes. X-Men, like the X-Men animated series, Todd was not like it just didn't hit him right. Like
because I don't know what year was that out?
94, 93, 94.
See, that's where I was starting to like a lot of that stuff. 94, I was 12. So I was starting to kind of like get away from,
Right.
mind you, when I was 12, I also started smoking cigarettes, and later I started smoking weed. So I was not as, watching like shows like that as much.
Right.
I was a
That's
cool
like
kid.
with like
I was
me,
more
like
into like TGIF and shit.
see, and that's why like with me, like a lot of people like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, and all that. Never like by that point, like I remember when Pokemon came out, it was like 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I finished watching X-Men and the Spider-Man animated series. But then for a while, the only animated series I really watched was like South Park or like Family Guy. You know what I mean? And so like there's that gap, but like X-Men was like that because that's what really got me into reading comics. Like was that X-Men between that and Batman the animated series really like sunk its teeth into me. So like I'm very excited because like there's a lot of franchises like Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, like that me and Todd are probably have like 8-part series on. Like but what else we got? Before we leave, I got one more topic for us, Todd, because we've almost been going for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I realized that somebody tried calling me. I'm like, I don't know who this is. And I realized it was the garage about my car. So I'm going to have to call him back in a minute.
All right. You're stoned. You have one choice of something to eat. What are you eating, ordering? What are you doing?
It's going to have to be 100%. See, it's hard because I like a few different flavors. So I got to like try to narrow it down to like one.
Okay, I'll say main meal, side, dessert.
Okay. Fuck, man. Legitimately, fucking love meatloaf. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes, or actually we did meatloaf with baked potatoes in the crock pot the other day. We just put it in the meatloaf and then wrap the baked potato and put it around it and just cook it all day. It was amazing. Wow. And then ice cream, Ben and Jerry's, some sort of Ben and Jerry's, pint of it. I'll eat that fucker, whole thing, like 10 minutes. Ridiculous. But I have a few different flavors. I like half baked. I like like the core ones that they have, like a bunch of like the cookie, like there's a lot. It's cookie dough is my favorite ice cream period of any kind of anything. So if I had to choose like one favorite, like Ben and Jerry's, I would say cookie dough. But I have many varieties that I enjoy. But that'd be my dessert. That's my meal side dessert.
Mine would be tacos. Would be my main meal.
Okay.
Chips and dip would be my side. And my dessert would also be ice cream, but it would be like what's the cherry Ben and Jerry's? Cherry Garcia. Yes, I love that.
Nice.
That would be it.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Sweet.
Well, everyone, happy 420.
Hope you enjoyed.
Partake safely.
Yes.
Watch Wrestle Fandom. Watch the channel. Subscribe. Smash the like. Share. Do all that. Whatever that shit they say is.
Slap people around. Pa-pa-pa, bitches.
No. Hit bongs, not people.
There you go. Love it.
All right, guys. Later.
Peace.